credentials only. Hibernate will try to communicate with your database. It will establish the connection. Everything is happening with JDBC, but that is happening behind the scene. Because now we are working with Hibernate. Hibernate is a framework, so configuration is there. Of course, we need to use basic methods to communicate, to establish connection with the database, but that will happen with the Hibernate only. We don't require to do anything. We just need to share the basic detail of our application, and that's the rest part is happening by the Hibernate. So in today's session, we are going to cover how to establish communication with database, and one more important point is there. And that will be Flyway. Flyway integration we will use, so that is allowing us to maintain the versions of database. Because see, we are working with Hibernate, so we don't require to maintain those things. But whatever updation we are doing for our process, for example, just go for a simple example, we created one employee table, and within that employee table, we created one call named name all. Okay, later there is a requirement like you have to allow for the searching, like clients should be able to search employee detail on the basis of first name and on the basis of last name, right? But currently what the table we are having, within that table, we are going with within that table, we are just going with the name only, right? So currently the name is there, but now the requirement is updated. And according to the requirement, we have to go for different, means we have to allow the user to go for first name, search by first name and search by last name. But within our table, only one column is there for name. Now what is required? We have to go for update the table, right? We will alter the table, and in place of using name column only, we will go for first name and last name. So what we are doing here, we are just updating these schema values, right? We are just going to do some updation on our predefined tables. So that kind of things we are making changes as per the requirement. Whatever changes you are doing within your database, that you can maintain with the help of Flyway. Okay, so whatever different versions we are defining for our table and database, and for each and every version, within each and every version, whatever code we are typing, whatever updates we are doing, that all things we can maintain with the simple SQL files. Okay, so that Flyway we will cover, and how to establish connection with the database, and then we will try to implement the things practically. So for that, two options are there. Those who are aware with database PostgreSQL, so you can start directly with that. If you are not, so read some articles related to that, because you need to be aware with the syntax also. And same thing for the Flyway. If you already aware with the things, so that's great. You can directly start. I hope screen is visible and clearly readable to everyone. Yes, no, please reply. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Fine. Now just take a look. And once I'm talking about the database, we have to go for PostgreSQL. But for that, two different ways are there to do. Either you have to make it available for your device, install it within your system, local. Otherwise, you can go with Docker. Okay, Docker. Within Docker, you have to pass the detail, what the version of that, and what the basic credentials and everything you have to pass. And Docker image will be created, and that with that image, the container we can use. Means we don't require to make the application available for our system. We can go with the Docker concept. Okay, Docker, that we will see in detail later. But just to make you aware how the things are working, I'm going to make you aware with the code, what we have to pass. So suppose we are not going with local installation, means for your system, you are not doing local installation for PostgreSQL, you will just ask, okay, if with the Docker, the details are given and it will create the image, and the related files will be available for your project execution. That time you don't require to make it available, means installation is not mandatory. If you are not going with Docker, so in that case, you have to make it available, means just download that files related and install it within your system. So two ways are there. Whatever you are going to prefer, you can follow the same. Okay, because I implemented both. So within my device is installed, and at the same time the Docker Composer, just to explanation purpose, I added here. Okay, so what we need to do, suppose we are going with the Docker, because for the installation you will do that. That is your job to complete it within your device. Okay, but what if we are going with Docker? So in that case, whatever project we are working with multi-module, right? So whatever project for which you have to make it available, so within that particular project, okay, just observe this employee. It's a different module, right? So within this module, I need to make it available. So for that, within the root folder of your project, root folder means directly within the employee folder, we have to create a new file, and that file name must be docker-compose.yml. See, naming convention is playing very important role. Okay, whenever Docker will start to execute your code, it will look for that same name file, and at the same time the class path is mandatory. That's why the project structure is there. A proper path we need to use for each and every files. So if we are going to add Docker Compose, so make sure like it's directly added within the folder, project folder only, and name should be in same way. Okay, and what the things are there. So of course you want to learn about, so you have to go for YAML, and for that the syntax you need to learn. What is there that I'm trying to explain? If you are completely new for it, so you can read some article related, you will get idea what the thing is. Not, I mean, so much complicated to get idea about what is there. So just take a look. We are just using services, means how many different services we are having, and that we are defining here within our project. So we are asking Docker to maintain all these things for us. And how? So the first service is for the PostgreSQL that data. Maybe for you, you have to go for accordingly your project requirements. So human resource management system, DB for database. Okay. Restart unless stopped. So whenever it's going to stop, we are asking just restart with what environment related data, metadata we need to share. So what is your database name? What the credentials are there? So the user and password. For me, within my device, as I mentioned, is installed. So accordingly, you have to go for the password and the username. Okay. One more issue, maybe once you will go for it, so you can say the exception you will face, like the password is unauthenticated, means whatever password you are passing is wrong. So for that, some changes you have to do for your file, that we will see later, means exceptions if you are going to face, not mandatory. But if are there, so what solutions are there? I will share the related article. So those who will face issues, so you can follow the steps. The details are given there. Okay, what port number we are using? What intervals will be there? And what timeout? Retries means if the first time is failed, so how many times we are expecting it should restart. Retry to establish the connection with the database. Start period, so that time is given. If it is not completed in this particular given, so it will be considered as a failure and it will retry again. Okay, so we are asking for 5 times. So it will go for the establishment for the connection for the given time. If it is not completed within that, so it will consider it as a failed trial and it will go for next. Okay. One more service I added here, that is for Spring Boot application. That is nothing but what application we are using. That is what that we will see later. Currently, we are just focusing on database. Now we have to come for another file with the name application properties. Application with means your project. Properties means the metadata. Whatever different things we are using here, like the database, Hibernate, Flyway, whatever different things we are using here, these related details we need to pass. Again, the path matters, where the application.property file must be there. So within your project, see, it's an employee, right? Employee is a whole project name, the Maven module. It's nothing but one Maven project only. Okay, so within your entire project, you will get one folder with name resources, and that resources will be part of SRC main Java. and sorry, src main resources. Just like src main Java, we will have one more folder with src main resources, and within that resources folder, the files would be. Just take a look for your project. You will have the application dot property. Maybe currently is blank. If you are not passing anything, it will be just have the application name only by default. Later you can add the properties. So here within the resources folder only, every time within the resources folder, we need to add a file. If it is there already, so you can start to work with that. If it is not there, so just right click on your project, or if resources folder is there, so right click directly on the resource folder, go for new file and pass the exact same name, application dot properties. Why we need to follow the naming convention? Because it's matter of configuration, right? These all files will go for execution internally. We will not ask to execute application dot property to read the data from application. We are not asking this way. What we are doing, we are just following the path, and at the time of program execution, behind the scene, the framework is going to use the same path, and once it will get the application dot property within the mentioned fixed path, then only it will use it for the execution. Otherwise it will just throw the exception. That's it. Okay, so that's why the path, just keep in your mind where you need to put docker file, compose, and where the application dot properties should be. So it must be part of resources folder only all the time. You can check, it will be there. Okay, now within this application dot property file, if you are going to use PostgreSQL within your system, so you have to pass the property here. It's for the Docker also. So just take a look. What we are passing, these are things related metadata, you can say. So related to database, spring.data source URL, which particular database we are using. And this is not for the PostgreSQL only. If you are working with MySQL or any other, you have to provide the URL of your database and at the same time the credentials, username and password. Okay, suppose you are working with MySQL, so MySQL workbench is there. Within that, whatever user name and password you are using, the same thing you have to provide. Then only Hibernate will be able to access the application. Reason? Because Hibernate is going to do everything. We don't require to pass it. So once Hibernate will start, we will ask Hibernate to save a record within database by calling the save method. I hope you all remember that thing we covered in previous session, right? Save method to call the insert query. But insert query, we are not calling. Hibernate will call it. If once it will call the insert query, before that it needs to establish the connection with the database. Now MySQL is stored within your local system, right? And once you are going for MySQL, you need to pass the credentials. In same way, once Hibernate will try to communicate with MySQL, again, Hibernate also needs the credentials. So whatever credentials we will pass here, it will use the same credentials to log in as a user, and within that, it will perform the queries. Okay, so it is required just like that. We are doing it manually. We will visit the application database and then we will pass the credentials. Then we will write the query, insert into something. In same way, the Hibernate is doing the things. It will establish the connection with the database by using the credentials. It will log in as that particular user, and then it will pass the insert query. But what we are doing as a Java coder, we are just calling the save method, right? So everything, whatever we are doing manually, like without Hibernate, we are using JDBC to establish the connection. These all things are there. But now the Hibernate is doing for us. Okay. Except that whatever database we are using, the driver class is required. Okay, these all things are related to, again, data source only. What the maximum pool size will be, what pool name you can pass any, idle value, timeout, how many times it should go for wait. If it is completed that transaction, that is okay. Otherwise, it will go for timeout. That timeout, idle timeout, connection timeout, max lifetime, whatever maximum lifetime we are allowing for a particular transaction completion. If it is completed within the given, so it will be considered as a successful completed transaction. Otherwise, related exception will be there on a screen and you need to work on it. Okay, next is given for the JPA Hibernate. So this is about database, on which database we want to work. But we means as a Java coder, our Java application can't work directly with the database. It's need a bridge between these two. That bridge is JPA Hibernate. Okay, so again, JPA Hibernate related basic details we need to share. That's what we are doing here. So just take a look for it. Spring.jpa.database platform. Which platform we are going to use, that value will be different, depends what database we are using. Currently, we are going for PostgreSQL, so related to that, everything we need to mention here. DDL auto. Is there anyone aware with this property? DDL auto. I hope you all are getting. Please reply once so I will get idea. Whatever I explained till now, you all are aware, getting yes, no. Okay. Yes, what about others? So DDL means what? Data definition language. I hope you all are aware in database we are using these terms, right? DML, data manipulation language. So DDL means data definition language, and that auto means we are asking to Hibernate. Okay, whatever things are there means whatever queries we will pass. For example, we are asking, we are using entity annotation, right? With the POSO class. For the employee class, we added entity annotation. So by using entity annotation, what we are asking to Hibernate, like whenever you will execute this code, so create a new table in database for employee. So it will do that. Data definition language. Hibernate will create the table whenever we are using entity annotation. It will create the table, and whatever with the whatever number of fields we are using column annotation, it will create the columns. And whatever field we are using as an ID with the ID annotation, it will create the primary key for it. So it will do that. But whenever we are executing our code, so every time we want to create a new table, like it will execute annotation entity class employee. So we are executing our project for 3 times. So 3 times it will create the table. Or you are expecting like if the table is not there in my database, then only you need to create. And whatever number of records are there, once I will execute our code for the next time, you have to add, suppose next time I will ask you to insert a new record. So just keep the previous 3 as it is and add the new one as a 4th record in the table. Okay, if you want to go for that. So if we are asking in this way, like just keep the previous 3 record and add the next one as a 4th record in the table. What we are asking to update the table, not the create. So if the value we are passing here, that is update, so means we are asking if the table is not there, create the table. If 4 records are already there, so add the next one as a 5th record. In place of create, if we will, update, if we will go for create. So that means we are asking to Hibernate every time. Whenever you will execute entity annotation with class employee, every time you need to create a new table. That is not a practical way, right? Whatever records are there in database, they should be safe there. And next we are doing that should be as an updation for the table. So that's why DDL auto we are using, the value is update. Okay, you can go for create also. If you want to try, so you should try for it. Next, we are using SoSQL. It's a property. SoSQL means, as I mentioned, we are going to call the save method. Behind the scene, Hibernate will call the insert query. So SoSQL is a property. By using that, we are asking to Hibernate whatever query you are executing behind the scene, just show them on console. We want to view what query you are passing. So if we will keep it true, it will show these values on a screen, but without any proper format. If you want to make them in proper format, so just go for another property, and that is format SQL. True. You all can do that. What once you are executing it, implementing this application property, You can comment these two lines and then execute your code. You will get no idea what is happening behind the scene. Okay, but once we are going for the property and value is true, so every whatever queries it will execute, so it will make it viewable on a script. If you are not adding these property in your code, still your code will work, but it should be there. So by that you will get idea on the console every property values you are going, sorry, every queries you are going to get. Okay, now the next one is Flyway. Flyway for the version maintenance integration, we are doing migration for it. Migration, purpose of migration is some naming convention we need to follow, and whatever changes within our database schema we are going to do as per our requirement. The changes every time, whatever changes we will pass, the changes we are going to maintain with the version sequence. So later we will be able to get idea how many times we make changes within our database and what the changes are there. So this kind of version record you can maintain with the help of Flyway. So properties are there. These three property must be. If you are going to work with Flyway, so see, this just read the location. Class paths, DB, a folder name, migration. It's again folder name. And where we need to make it available. So again, the same thing. These all not are Java code. This is something except Java, because if we are going for Java, so that must be part of SRC main Java. Every time Java related code we are putting here only. So controller, service, repository, everything is part of this. Once we are going for accept these things, so we have to make them available in resource folder. Okay, so the path is what? Class path means till the resource folder. After that resource folder, you will get DB folder, and within that DB, the migration. So see, DB folder, you need to create that, okay? Because it's not default part of your Maven project. Create within resource folder, just right click, go for new folder, create, and pass the folder name that will be DB, and within that DB, migration. And within this migration folder only, we are going to put all our files. And what file we are putting here, that will be SQL file, .SQL. Okay, and for the name, we have to go for a proper naming convention. What naming convention we need to use? So at first, it will be the version value, B for version, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever time we will change, means we will update that, we have to go for same naming convention. So for example, within the first version, I'm just creating the tables. One table is with name employee and another table with name rows. These two table I need to create because currently this is the requirement. Okay. So what I will do within the migration folder, I will right click on migration folder, go for new and select SQL file. Okay. And with that SQL file, what name we need to follow? See, naming convention is very important. Okay, what sequence we need to follow here? Just go for V for version, capital V, and then the version number, whatever is there, underscore, and the name. Name means the title. What you are going to do within this version. So, for example, I mentioned like create tables. So within this version, I will create the tables, and that's what I'm doing here. So in second version, sample data means within the table, I need to put some sample data there. So I added version 2. Now is the next updation for it. So version 2 underscore sample data. So by that name only, we are able to get what we are doing here. I'm trying to insert some data, some values within the table. Okay. So this way you have to add the version files that will be nothing but the common SQL file only. And within that SQL file, you have to do what? You just have to put the code for the table creation or not, but that should be in a proper naming convention way. Every SQL file, suppose within one single only you are going to create the table and you are going to add the samples. So you can go for the same, but just pass the proper title there. Okay, so the sequence you have to follow within resource folder, DB and migration, and two files are there. You can add any number. And the code you need to pass. So if you're looking for the given database, so you have to learn about it. Okay, these things are the very important part that must be there within your pom.xml, and that will be the dependency, right? Now we started to work with the database. So what dependencies are required here? Just take a look. How will we get the dependency? Go for Google and search for Maven repository. And within that repository, you will get the dependencies. I'm sharing these dependencies there in the chat box, so you will get idea. Or you can put directly that in pom.xml file. And the data JPA file. So data JPA means whatever number of submodule we will use, means employee, auth service, payroll service. They all are going to work with the database, right? Means for every service or every module, we need the connectivity with the Hibernate, right? So that's why whatever common dependencies will be there, means whatever number of dependencies those we required for more than one modules. So put them within the parent pom.xml file on. Okay, if we are going to make them available in parent pom.xml file, so by parent, these property, the dependency will be available for each and every child module also. Okay, so whatever dependencies are there, those are required for more than one module. So we are going to put them within parent pom.xml file. Okay, so data JPA is required. Now, the PostgreSQL we are putting in employee question may be there because database is required for each and every service. So we are going to put in employee reason because for each and every module, we can work with different database. Okay, suppose for example, for employee service, I'm using PostgreSQL. So related to that, whatever things are there, whatever code is there, data is there, that we are going to put within the employee service, or you can say module. For payroll, I'm going to use MySQL. As per the requirement, we have to go for MySQL. So related to MySQL, whatever data is there, whatever dependencies will be there, and whatever properties will be there, that I will put within the payroll service. Okay, maybe for another service is there, for that I'm going with Oracle. So for that particular service only, within that particular service project only, I will put the related files. Okay, so databases we can use for every service, every module, a different database we can use. So if difference we are going to use, so you need to put them in a particular module only. But data JPA is mandatory. JPA Hibernate is required. No matter we are working with SQL, we are working with Oracle, we are going for MySQL, whatever. But JPA is required. So it will be part of it. Okay, now one more dependency, as I mentioned, if for each and every service we are going to use different database. So we need to put the dependencies, related properties within the particular service. But as per our project requirement on which you are going to work, within that, the same database we have to use for each and every service, right? No matter is employee or auth or payroll, same database we need to use. So in that case, you can add the dependency within the parent pom.xml file. Okay. So this is how the pom.xml file we need to maintain. I just shared that related file, so you can go for it. Okay, let me share this one also. And please maintain the whatever versions are given within your project requirement, you have to go for that. So maintain all these things also. Okay. Okay, now suppose these things are covered. We are done with the description, what we need to do here. It's a sample and it's a table creation. And once we will try to execute our code, so we have to go for main method and we need to execute our code. Okay, I hope screen is visible, right? On console, the details are given here, but I think, okay, let me delete the table from there so you will be able to get the uh, queries here. Currently it's not showing because a DDL auto is update, means if the table is not available in database, then only create it. So it is already there, so it's not creating. Okay, take a look for this screen is for PC admin. As I mentioned, if you are going to install or make it available for your device, so you are going to get that PC admin here with the graphical user interface you are able to do. So just take a look. As I mentioned, with the previous execution, the tables are created, and that's why it's not showing the queries. So this is HRMSDB, and within that the tables are created, and that's why we are not getting the queries. So we are going to drop the table. Now the tables are not available in our database. So once we will try to execute and we will ask to hibernate, like these number of tables are there and we are using DDL auto. So now it will check, okay, the required tables are not there. So it will execute them again. Okay, so it's executing and okay, wait. I just forgot to share. Okay, it's executed and here we are going to get the tables. Now just take a look. Now the tables are not there. So DDL auto and the value is update. So it will do what? First it will check the database. If it is not there, so it will create the table. So I just deleted the drop the table from the database. Now it is not there. So it will do what? It will execute the query. See, within your employee class, we are just using one annotation at the rate employee. And it's doing what? It's going to create the table for it. So as I mentioned, if you want to communicate with the database, you have to go for the queries. But that query, we don't need to pass. We don't need to type. That doesn't mean the queries are not there. Queries are there, but they are executed by Hibernate. So we are using only one annotation entity, and behind the scene, this pure table code syntax is given. See, the complete code is there. This is done by Hibernate. So we are using SQL. That's why it's showing the queries, what are executed behind the scene. We are using format SQL. That's why the queries are in proper format. So one table is created for employee, another table is created for role. And as we are using Hibernate mapping there, because we need to maintain a relation between one to many, many to one relation between employee and role. And to maintain this many to one, a new table is created with name user roles, user ID and role ID. Okay, so this is how Hibernate is working. Three tables are created. Okay. Fine. So again, I'm repeating what you all need to do. Make the PostgreSQL available for your local device, or you can go for Docker. Okay, I will share the code related to what you need to put within the Docker compose.yml, where we need to put the file. So it should be in your root folder, means directly within the project folder. Just go for the new file and pass the proper name docker-compose.yml. Okay, and if you are going with the installed version, whatever is there in your local system, so that time you don't require to go for Docker. Second thing, we are using Flyway. So for the migration, whatever updates you need to do for the table, you have to pass the path. Within resource folder, DB folder, within that DB migration folder, within that migration folder, you have to store the SQL files, right? And the proper naming convention we need to use, V1 and whatever name is there. Okay, and once you're done with that, so you will execute your code and the application property file. Okay, once we're done with that, so now please let me know, is there any query related to database? What we covered, so PostgreSQL, how to use this? So two different way, Docker and the installed, local installed. And second thing, we covered the Flyway, how we need to go for it, and the how the things are working, and we are able to get the file. Okay, let me show you how the tables are created there with the help of PC admin. So once the queries are executed, so you will be able to get the tables within your PC admin here. See, we just dropped the files, right? Sorry, tables. And now it's showing tables. Three tables are created within the database. One is employees, one is role, and this third one to maintain the mapping between these two, user and role, right? So three tables are created here. And that is happened with the Hibernate only. We are not doing anything within our table. We are not coming here to pass the queries. From there only is going to execute. So now please everyone reply whatever we covered till now. Is it clear? You are able to implement that? Yes, no. How many of you are learning the PostgreSQL for the very first time? Aware how the things are working with Hibernate and all? Okay, how many of you are aware with, I mean, previously worked with Hibernate and PostgreSQL? How many of you worked previously? Please raise your hand so I will get idea. So total 4. What about others? Okay, fine. So those who are learning for the first time, so first you have to read something basics and then you can start. Okay, now the next thing we are going to cover, and that will be the authentication. As I mentioned, we are remaining with that. So let's try to cover that part where we are going to ask for Postman should be there in your device, is it? How many of you installed the Postman and worked previously? How to pass the queries? Because now you created the controller service and DAO. So from the Postman only you have to pass the request, right? Okay, so let's go for that. Concept wise, we already covered, right? If you remember how two things are working with the Spring Security and JWT. Now the implementation is remaining, so we are going for that part. How the things are working means by code, how we can implement it. Once from the Postman, we will pass the request to particular path, and it will generate the token for us. If we will try to go without tokens, so it will show the exception like you are not authenticated person for this particular path. If everything is okay and the token is there, so it will return the values. Okay, so within this, okay, configuration, what the code we need to do, that we already covered. So here we are just trying to execute that part, means practically how the things are working, how to create the JWT token and all that we already covered. So you can go through that later. Okay, so the server is started now and we are going to check how the things are working. So what we need to do, we have to go for Postman. I hope you all are already worked, right? So server is started here and now we will check for, okay, wait. Let me show you the path, how to use them. Okay, so we need to check like how many paths are there that we can use. So that depends on you. If you remember, so within the configuration only, we need to decide for which particular path we are going to allow and all these things we already covered, but I'm just revising it to make you clear how the things are working. So within the controller, we are using the path C. One path is there with the /API/public/home. If a request will be there for this particular path, so we are going to do what? Whatever message we need to print there on a screen, everything is okay. But what the things, main things we need to observe, the request should be for a /API/public/home. If request will be there, so this method will go for execution. If related to admin, we are having request, so path will be /API/admin. Okay, after that /admin, we are going to use users. If we are using users, so it will return what? It will return all the users' values, whatever number of users are there in database. And what type of request is there? So of course is get mapping. Okay, so different paths are there for different controller. This is for user. Suppose the user logged in and they want to know the details, they want to visit their account. Currently, we are remaining with front end. So we will use Postman only to view the details. And from the Postman, once we will go for front end. So in place of Postman, you can use front end to pass the request and to accept the response. So these all things we will observe with the help of Postman only. We will check whether it's working or not. So the path will be for user /API/user/admin. So it's going to return what? It's going to return the current user detail, whatever will be there, like username and the authorities, means how many different ways are roles are there for the given user. Fine. So three controller which are going to maintain the request and the path. So three controller mapped with three different paths. Okay. Within the configuration, the initializer we are using here, that initializer is going to do what? It will initialize the how many different roles we are using. So here is one user and one admin. You have to go for according to your project requirement. Okay, so within this, two different types of roles are there. Roles for the authorization, right? One, if you remember, one example was there for OTT platform. So they will ask you for your credential. That time is authentication. Now some content is available for you, some are for the subscription. If you are a subscribed member and you logged in, means you are authenticated person, then they will check whether you are having subscription or not. If it is, means you are a member of that platform, so they will allow you to go for all content, that is authorization. Okay, if a user is trying without any subscription, so few content is available for them, few is not, we will paid only, so that is authorization. So for the authorization, once we are going for login, and at the time of login, they will read the roles value from the database. Whether the person logged in as an admin, or they logged in as a normal user, or they logged in as a subscribed person or member, right? So these all are what? These all are nothing but the roles of user. Okay, you are having OTT platform, and with a particular contact number or email address, the subscription is there. But what happened? you just logged out with the subscribed account, and again you will try to log in, but this time you are trying with a different number. Your same device is there, same application is there, and the user is also same. But the credentials you are passing, that will be different. Means now you are trying with a different contact number. So what will be there? This time you will not be able to view the paid content. Reason? Because previously, once you logged in with your mobile number or email address, whatever, that time, at the time of login from the database, is going to retrieve the role values. So that time it was subscribed member. The role was subscribed member, for example, subscribed member. So you were able to go for the all content, paid and freely available, everything. But second time, you means the same user, your same device, your same application. But once you tried to go for the different mobile number, different email address, and you logged in, of course, successfully, but now the paid content is not available for you. Means this time, at the time of logged in, roles is retrieved from the database, and that time is a user only or viewer only. So you are logged in, means you are a known person for the OTT platform, but at the same time your role is different now. Now you logged in as a user or viewer only. Previously you were logged in as a subscribed member. So on the basis of role, application is going to decide whether you are able to view the paid content or not. I hope you all are clear with the use of role, right? Yes or no? Okay, thank you for reply. So in this way, as per the requirement, we have to go for different role. So what will happen within our database, one role table is there. So whenever within that table, the details are there, I mean records are there. So whenever any user will try to log in, at the same time, we will retrieve the role values for the user. And on the basis of that role values, we will decide what. Okay, so this example is here. Suppose user and admin. For this, as I mentioned, for your project, as for your project requirement, you have to implement the thing. With this example, we are just want to know like how the things are working with the given request for the login, how the token will be generated there. So if the user is simple user, role is user only. So with that, at the time, a new object of user is created. That we are doing because it's not connected with the database. Once you will connect it with the database, so in place of passing the values uniquely, you can directly with the database. So that user and whatever password is there. Another person means another role within the same application. If the another person or the same person will try to go for the login, but with a different credentials. This time the see again the object of user only we are creating, right? But the first value is user, means once the user will use these two credentials, they will log in with a role of user only. Once the same person or a different person will try to login. So again, the same class object we are using, but the value will be admin. The role will be admin with this password. If the person is going to log in with the credentials admin and this password, they will have two roles value. One is admin, means the person will be user and the person will be admin. Means that person, once they logged in with admin username, so that person will be able to access all these pages which are available for user and at the same time for the admin also. Once the person is going to use credential username user only. So only they will be able to access only those pages which are available for user role only. Okay, so the roles are going to play a very important role. Role based on the basis of role, we are going to decide what should happen there. Okay, that thing already covered. See, again, I'm repeating it. See, here we are asking for username not found exception. If we are looking for find by username and the given username is not there, so optional by using optional, we are calling or else throw method username not found. So user will get that value there. If it is, so we are going to pass the values accordingly. Okay. So let's try to go for the execution and we will see what the things are working there. Okay, one more thing you all should also. which may be covered, but again, I'm repeating just to make it clear. See, for the configuration, as I mentioned, like whenever we will go for Spring Security, so few classes we need to maintain, right? And for interfaces, we need to maintain the implementation class also. So this class must be there if you are going with the Spring Security, and that is for the configuration. If you are clear with this logic behind the code, so you will get clear idea what the things are happening once we are going to pass a request with a different paths. Okay, so how many different things are there? We are going to use three different control. One is for public, means no matter the person logged in or not, but that page should be viewable on a screen, means the data should be there on a screen. One path, few paths are dedicated for admin only. So slash API slash admin. So by the name, value meaning is quite clear. Like if person will log in as an admin, if the role will be admin, then only they will be able to access the path. If the person logged in as an user, so the path, if they are going to pass a request by using the path slash API slash user, and after slash whatever is there. But if user is there, so that person will be able to go for user related authorization. If the person is using the request is there for slash API slash admin, and after that admin, whatever is there. So the role will be admin only. Okay. If person is trying with is API slash auth, and after that auth, whatever is there. At the same time, slash API and slash public. And after that, whatever name is, maybe index, it may be home, whatever. But what we are trying to say here with the request matcher, like whatever request will be there, we are asking to Spring Security, whatever request will be there, and those requests are going to match these paths. So you need to do what? You need to permit all of them. You need to permit all of them. If there is a request for this path API slash auth and anything, API slash public and asterisk symbol we are using as in wildcard means any value. Second, we are passing request matcher. So by this, we are asking to Spring, if you will get any request for this path, slash API, slash admin, slash anything. So you have to allow if the person has a role of admin. See, has role method we are calling. If the person has a role of admin only. Okay. Another we are passing API slash user. If any request is there for slash API slash user and anything, then you have to allow only for authenticated person. Any request, but the person must be authenticated. We are using the word method, we are calling the method authenticated, means we are asking like the person must be logged in only. So the person logged in as a user. But before that, just we pass slash API slash admin. So for that, we clearly mentioned has role of admin. If the person authenticated, that is okay. But that person must have the role of admin. Then only you should allow them to visit that request, to accept the request. Okay. Okay, now from here, we are going for this request. See, just read that path. Localhost colon 8088. So currently what server I'm using here, the port number is 8088. For you, it may be different. Default is 8080. See, currently we are trying for slash API slash public. So just remember that code within that we mentioned request matcher. If any request is there, slash API slash public, so permit all. Means currently we are remaining to log in, right? Still we are to get the data, like message is there, application is ready. Okay. So what is happening without any login, we are able to go for it, right? Because just because we are calling the method permit all there, if the request is for slash API slash public. Next, we are trying for login. Slash API slash auth. Slash auth is there. That means again a request for a path slash API slash auth, that is permit all, means any person is able to visit that particular path. So for that particular, we are going to use here API auth. So that is available for all. Okay. But at the same time, it's a post request. And with that request, we need to pass the credentials. Where we need to put them? So within the body, we are going to pass the credentials. Now just read it. Username is admin and password is this one. So admin and password. The person is going to use these two, username and password, to log in. So we need to do what? We are going to pass the request for slash API slash auth slash login, and two credentials we are passing here. It should be passed with the request body, because there we are going to read it from the request body. Value will be raw type and a pure JSON value. Once we are going to send this request, so by this, what we are trying to ask, you can just visualize, like within the login form, we are filling username and password. Currently, we don't have front end, so we are using post command to test our APIs, whether they are working properly or not. Okay, what happened once we send the request? It will go where? It will go for the controller. And within that controller, it will check which method is there. Which method is there for the given request. So that request is post type and for login. So slash login post mapping is mapped with a method, and that method is going for execution. And within that method, we are asking to create a check, verify the credentials, and then create a token. And now the token is generated here. So we are getting the whole details. See, this is the token value, generated token, what the type of token is there, and what the username, and how many roles are there, authorities that we are retrieving. So this person is logged in, or you can say that that person is authorized for admin role, and at the same time the user role. Means whatever pages are, whatever requests are there for user and admin, the person, the logged in person, is able to pass the request for both. Okay, now we are going to pass the request related to user. Now the person is logged in, and at the same time they will get the request token value also. So now after that, whatever number of time they will send any request, with that request they have to share this token also. Means within the front end, once you will do the job, so by code you have to send the token with that request. So this token, by using that token, now the next request, next time any request will be there. By using this token only, the server will get idea, okay, the person is authorized person, authenticated person, and by reading the role value, it will get the detail whether the person is authorized to visit admin page or not, or user page or not. These all things will be covered by using the token only. So what the main use of it? Now, for the next time, you don't require to ask within the same session I'm talking about. You don't require to ask for the credentials again and again. Within the token only, the details are there, and by that you can verify whether the person is eligible or not. So we need to, within Postman, how to do that? So just copy that token from here and go for a next request. So suppose we are going for slash API slash user and slash me, means we want to retrieve the user detail, but with the token. And that token is what? For what? Is for authentication. So go for authorization. The type must be multiples are given. If you are not providing any authorization, so default go for no. But we are going for bearer. So we have to select here, and within the token, we have to pass the value. So whatever token we copied from there, that we need to pass here. Okay, once we're done with that, so pass the request. And see, we are going to get the result. That is nothing but the details of the rows, whatever rows are available here. Okay. Now the person currently logged in as an admin, so they are able to access admin page also, and they are able to access user page also, because they are having both roles, admin and user both. So let's try to pass a request, and that will be for admin slash user. And if you remember, so by the code, what we are doing, request matcher slash API slash admin slash asterisk. Asterisk means for any pages. So go for has role admin. Means now this Spring will do what? It will check for the role. If the role is matched with admin, then only it will allow to go for it, because the API, the request is for slash API slash admin. So we, by the code, we already shared with the Spring, like whenever you will get a request for this particular path, first you need to check the role. If the role is of admin, then only you need to fulfill the request. Okay, otherwise you just need to throw the exception like the person is not authenticated, so you can't access this space, or you can say you can't go for this request. So currently the logged in person is admin, so they are going for user and is eligible. That's why all the user detail we are going to get here. Okay, the password is encrypted, and that's why we are not able to read that path. So one user is there with name user, and other is admin, and by the using users, we are able to get all users. So two users are there within our database, and we are able to get what the username, what the password value, and what different roles are there. Okay. So is it clear till now? Yes, no, any query, so you can ask. Okay, now we just logged in again with the different credential. One is user and the password. Now just observe the roles are user only. Means now the logged in authentication is there, but for the authorization, once it will check for the role value, so that is for user. Means the logged in person is user only. That person is not admin. Okay, now once we logged in with the user value, user role, and now we will try to go for the path which is for the request which is for the admin only, but the role, current role is of user, and we will try to go for a request which is for admin only. So let's see, it's going to allow us or what, or we will get some exception message, because currently we logged in as an user only, and what we are trying to define, that path is for API slash admin. So by the code, Spring will do what? It will check for the has role admin. So currently, no, the person logged in person has role of user only, not the admin. So let's try to go for it. What we will get, the result will be, or see, is showing error, exception 403. Error is forbidden, means you are not authorized to access this path, because you logged in as an user only, your role is of user only, and you are trying to access this particular path, and that is not valid. So access denied. It's not allowing us to go for, because currently logged in as an user only. And why it is happening here? Because by code we clearly shared with the Spring, okay, what do you need to do? That is nothing. But whenever you will get any request, you have to go for request matcher. And within that request matcher, you need to check whatever request you are accepting, you are getting, not accepting, whatever request you are getting, if it is having path slash API slash admin, so first check for the role. If the role is admin, then only allow for it. If it is not, so what you need to do, you have to throw the exception. And that will be the message like access denied. Okay, so this main code is working here. That is known as configuration, because here only we are asking to check for the pass and all. Here only we are asking for the authentication filters. Okay, so this is the very, you can say, highest priority file. If you are going to start with the Spring Security, you have to be clear what is happening there within this configuration. It's a configuration. Means whatever instruction we need to share with the Spring, this all we are sharing here. See, this message we are getting there on a screen. Port 03 forbidden and access denied. If we will try to go for any value without any authentication, so we will go for unauthorized message there on screen. Okay, so this is how we covered how to go for. Okay, now this example is for login, how to go for different roles. The same thing you need to implement, because within your application, you will allow the user to go for a new registration also, right? So by using the same, I mean, the same flow you have to cover for the log registration. You can say sign up, right? So one request we created for login means the user is already logged in. If a new person will try for it, so you have to code for sign up and log out both as per the requirement. So once you will go for sign up, so currently what we are doing, login means the value is already there within your database. Once you go, will go for sign up, so you have to create a new record in the database. And second time user will go for login, you have to maintain that. And same one or more API you need to generate, and that will be for logout. Okay, so now please let me know. In previous session, we covered the code base, what the things are there, and today we tried with the practical implementation of it, how the things are working. Now, please let me know, is it clear to everyone? And you are able to implement the things for your project, right? Okay, that's good. If any point is not clear, so you can ask for it. Is there any query? Okay, so let's go for one thing. Now the things are clear, we covered. So start to go for login, sign up, and log out. It should be there, okay? Okay, fine then. So that is enough for today's session. Let's meet in next. Thank you, everyone.